The new Little Mermaid movie proved something. That if done correctly, there is value in remaking animated Disney movies in live-action form. Let me preface this by saying that my praise of this movie in no way, shape, or form includes this travesty.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wah, chicka, wah, wah.
What was that? What was that? This will also contain spoilers for the live action, so if you haven't seen it and you should see it, save this video and come back and watch it once you have. And in case you're new here, hi, I'm Michaela, your friendly neighborhood fangirl. Subscribe if you like fandom videos, and let's dive in and discuss The Octopus in the Room. How the live action rewrote the idea of Ariel giving up her voice. Here's where I make my very firm stand, that all this talk about Ariel giving up her voice for a man is bullshit. If you've already seen this TikTok I posted, feel free to skip to the next section. If not, please give it a watch. The context is important for what we're about to talk about. In the original animated Little Mermaid, Ariel gives up her voice to be with a guy. This interpretation does a disservice to Howard Ashman. Who's Howard Ashman? He was one of the Disney Renaissance pioneers. One thing he did was change Disney animated movies to be more like Broadway musicals. So one example of this is how he brought the I Want song into Disney movies. An I Want song, if you don't know, is as simple as it sounds. The protagonist tells the audience what they want through song. It's an effective storytelling method because it immediately makes you root for the leading character and their dreams. So giving an I Want song to the leading woman in these Disney movies gave them much more agency and drive. Howard was both Jewish and a gay man who was living and creating during the AIDS epidemic. He actually sadly passed away from AIDS at the age of 40, and I think there's a sense of yearning for belonging and home that's reflected in his lyrics because of this. So when the directors asked Howard to write a song about Ariel's love for Eric, he deliberately chose instead to write a song about Ariel's love for the human world. In her I Want song, Ariel quite literally tells us what she wants. I want to see them dancing. Nowhere in Ariel's I Want song does she ever say, I want a man, want a super hot man. Only in Part of Your World reprise is Eric even mentioned. Emphasis on the reprise. She wants to walk on land. The hot prince just happens to be the cherry on top. And Howard Ashman fought tooth and nail to keep Part of Your World in the movie because he understood how essential it was that Ariel tells the audience what she wants most, more than anything else, is to live on land. And when Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted to cut Part of Your World, Howard Ashman said, can I say this on TikTok? He said, over my body, I'll you. So after all that, for people to say Ariel only wanted to go on shore for a man, Howard Ashman did not threaten to Jeffrey Katzenberg, only for people to say that Ariel just wanted a man. Before we move on, I want to clarify that there's nothing wrong with telling a story where the female protagonist wants love. Romantic love is still a major part of Ariel's story in the live action. You can have an empowered woman who never dreams of love and an empowered woman who only dreams of love. And for all that people like to complain that Disney princess movies are only about finding a man, it's just not true. Right, Cinderella wasn't dreaming of a prince, she was dreaming of going to a ball. However, it would also be disingenuous to say that romantic love isn't a major part of most Disney princesses' happy endings. The problem isn't with that story itself, it's that a disproportionate amount of these movies are focused on romantic love with a man. We need stories about all kinds of women with all kinds of goals and dreams, especially in a society that does often tell young women their only goal should be to find a husband. The Little Mermaid was never trying to say Ariel gave up her voice just for Eric. Howard Ashman made sure that we knew her first dream was to be human and find belonging. But it's also true that the animated movie put significant emphasis on Ariel's infatuation with Eric. This emphasis was critical because if you as a viewer do not fully buy into the idea that Ariel wants Eric as much as she wants legs, you might wonder if Ariel is just using Eric to get what she wants. It's not a good look for your Disney protagonist. So for the story to work, Ariel has to want to give up her voice to be with Eric to a certain extent. But in the live action adaptation, Eric takes a step back from being a primary focus of Ariel's desires. One example of this is during the confrontation scene between Ariel and her father. Instead of Ariel going, "Daddy, I love him," Ariel instead talks about how this human boy is compassionate and kind, challenging Triton's idea that all humans are inherently evil. She clearly has feelings for him, but the conversation centers on Triton's inability to understand Ariel due to his personal trauma of losing her mother to humans. The focus is less on love and more on Ariel's affection for the human world being intertwined with the kindness and compassion she observes in Eric. But Michaela, you've just argued that Ariel's love has to be a primary motivation or the story doesn't work. And that's still true. So how did the live action handle this conundrum? In a pretty clever way. Ursula enchants Ariel so she can't remember she has to kiss Eric to keep her legs. So the story not only becomes more charming and innocent, with Ariel and Eric having no ulterior motives but their love for one another, but the stakes also become higher. Because we as the audience know she has to kiss Eric, Sebastian and Flounder know, but Ariel doesn't know. Poor Unfortunate Souls presents a whole other conundrum. How do you handle this song with lyrics like, "I'll never be with my father and sisters again, but you'll have your man," and "she who holds her tongue who gets a man," if you want to make the focus of Ariel's journey specifically not about her getting her man? Well, it was a pretty simple fix. They just cut that verse out of the song. The song still slaps.
Wait, do people still say slaps? Am I old and unhip with the youth now?
Now in context, there's nothing wrong with the original lyrics. We have to remember this is the villain talking. The villain's words are never an endorsement of the morals of a story. I mean, we don't say that 101 Dalmatians condones animal abuse because the villain says that puppies make great coats.
I only wish to have a coat made out of puppies.
Why would you do that?
And more to the point, even Ursula doesn't believe that Ariel giving up her voice is going to help her get a man. She's manipulating Ariel into giving up her voice because she clearly thinks Ariel won't be able to get a man if she can't speak. And I mean, to be fair, Ursula isn't really saying anything wrong here. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek social commentary about the fact that men don't like intellectual women. It's actually kind of a feminist verse when you think about it. But just because I can understand that this is a tongue-in-cheek social commentary doesn't mean that children watching will understand that nuance. All they're gonna hear is, "It's much preferred for ladies not to say a word." And this is what the great Alan Menken's exact line of reasoning was. He said, "We have some revisions regarding lines that might make young girls somehow feel like they shouldn't speak out of turn, even though Ursula is clearly manipulating Ariel." You might say, as this Twitter user did, maybe instead of changing the lyrics, teach kids to think. But you know what? I'd rather we have a movie that ensures little girls are going to walk away feeling good about themselves without their parents needing to explain that Ursula said ladies should shut the f up because she's manipulative and because some men out there really don't want women to speak. And frankly, just because a villain says something bad about you, even if you know intellectually, oh, it's the villain talking, it can still impact the way you see yourself, especially if you're an impressionable 7-year-old. Alan Menken understood that even though there's nothing wrong with the original lyrics in context, there's also nothing wrong with adjusting the lyrics to ensure we're doing everything we can to make art that raises little girls up in a society that desperately wants to tear them down. There's also a similar little lyric change in Kiss the Girl I Want to touch on. Again, there wasn't anything wrong with the original lyrics. I mean, the entire song is about Ariel trying to get Eric to kiss her. If anything, it's a consent issue for Eric being pressured into kissing Ariel. But I think we can all agree it's a nice change to have Sebastian tell Eric, "Hey, she can't talk, so ask her if she wants you to kiss her," rather than, "Hey, she can't talk, so just go ahead and kiss her," right? So great, we changed lyrics. But for the plot to make sense, Ariel still has to give up her voice. So how did the writers work around this one? They made her voice just one small part of her entire mermaid self she has to sacrifice. Ursula tells her she has to give up all of her mermaid gifts, including her tail, her ability to breathe underwater, and her mermaid siren song. There's other little changes that were great in giving Ariel more agency, like Ariel being the one to tell her name to Eric, Ariel not just learning things from Eric, but teaching him things about the ocean as well, and Ariel being the one to pull the necklace off Vanessa and take her voice back. That was a cool scene. But I've been talking about this too much. If you've reached this point in the video, marry me. So we got all these great narrative adjustments for Ariel, but what about Eric? In the live action, we learn Eric was adopted by his royal parents after he was orphaned in a shipwreck, and his status as an outsider gives him something in common with Ariel. They make him as obsessed with the ocean as she is with the land, something neither of their parents understand, and you can really see even more so than in the original movie why these two love each other and why their love complements the journey each of them is going on to find belonging and understanding. Another way they improved Eric is by giving reason to his weird obsession with finding the girl who saved him. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with this in the animated movie. If I was saved by a mystery woman who sang me a beautiful song, I would probably also drive myself crazy trying to find her. But instead of just making Eric quirky like that, they explained his obsession comes from Ariel's siren song, which makes a lot of sense in the context of Ursula later using Ariel's voice to enchant him, but it's something that's not explicitly explained in the original movie. And this plot point actually makes Eric's love for Ariel even stronger. His genuine love for the Ariel he meets who has had her song taken away is so strong it overpowers the call of the siren song. The fact that his love for Ariel is more powerful than any spell she could cast on him is undeniably romantic. Whew, we're getting to the end here, hang in there. The second to last change I want to mention is the ending of the movie. In the original movie, it's Eric who ultimately saves the day using his ship to take down Ursula. And that's fine. That's not anti-feminist or anything. Ariel saves Eric's life at the beginning of the movie and he saves her life at the end. It's pretty even, and Ariel's an active participant in the fight. So there's nothing wrong with the original ending. But making Ariel the one who drives that ship into Ursula's heart, I think it's a great change. Because this is the climax of Ariel's story, not Eric's. And it makes more sense to have Ariel save the day. I mean, imagine if in Harry Potter, Harry just steps aside in the final battle and then Ron kills Voldemort. That'd be kind of funny, actually. But it's also Ariel completing her redemption arc in a way she doesn't get to do as fully in the original movie. She's the one who was tricked by Ursula, so she's taking back her power by defeating Ursula and saving her father. And they execute this scene in a way that doesn't take away anything from Eric's character. Ariel is only able to steer the boat into Ursula because she saw Eric do it at the beginning of the movie when trying to save his crew. Her moment of heroism is only possible because of Eric's bravery and selflessness. So the movie ends with my final and favorite improvement, which is the fact that they really put Triton and Ariel's relationship at the beating heart of the movie. The relationship is important in the original movie, but it's essential in the live action. Triton concludes the beautiful story arc the movie built by telling Ariel, "You shouldn't have had to give up your voice to be heard," which reaffirms the whole story the live action was telling. Ariel's sacrifice was really just a journey to seek belonging and understanding. It's funny, there's one tweet I saw that said, "I think it's very disrespectful to the memory of Howard Ashman to update his lyrics." Besides the fact that Howard would have absolutely made the argument himself that if the story was going to update it, the lyrics need to be updated as well, because he most of all understood that songs are an essential part of storytelling and the fabric of the movie. If you think Howard Ashman wouldn't have approved of the live action making the focus more on Ariel's desire to be heard, then you don't understand anything about Howard Ashman and the art he created. You can't look at Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and tell me that making the main focus of the movie Ariel's yearning to find belonging and understanding wouldn't have resonated deeply with Howard, who wrote that plot point into the story in the first place. Howard, the man who gave Ariel a voice, wanted Ariel's voice to be heard. I just wish he were alive to see what his creation has become, because I think he would have really liked it.